Okay, so just to introduce myself, my name is Amanda Lundstedt, and I am a business coach. My husband and I make our home just a little bit outside of town here in Pleasant Hill, a little bit closer to the metro. What do I do as a business coach? As a business coach, I work with small business owners and executives, so sometimes not the owner is my client, but maybe their sales executive or their CEO for the businesses, and really help them to get their businesses to a place where either they're producing enough income or producing enough time. So they're running the business and the business isn't running them. I want to take just a second to share kind of a little bit about my story. There we go. Okay, so our purpose today is I just want to introduce you to myself and then the team that I'm with. I want to teach you 6 steps that are going to lead to a better business. And part of that teaching will also give you guys some ideas for your individual businesses. And then I just want to provide a little bit of information if you'd like to get started with me and learn a little bit more about what I do as a business coach. So just a little bit about Action Coach Business Coaching if you're not familiar with it. It is a franchise. I am not the franchisee. I work for a franchisee, so I'm his associate of our firm owner over in Urbandale. It's been around since 1993. We have over 1,000 offices in 80 countries and work with about 20,000 clients a month. And the mission of Action Coach Business Coaching, this is part of the reason why I chose to go with Action Coach Business Coaching when I was embarking on my coaching career, is really because they come from a place of abundance. And so what I mean by that is what I do as a coach is I work with all of my clients and individuals and help them come and get their mindset from a place of abundance and not scarcity, recognizing that there's more than enough business to go around, there's more than enough clients to go around, and they can build the business that they want on their terms. But we just have to do that through business re-education. And so that is where Action Coach, their mindset and their mission is. The vision is to have a coach in every single business. So our goal is to work with every single business owner that will allow us to work with them. Some business owners simply aren't coachable. We accept that, and we still are here to help. But we only help those that are open to working with us. So a little bit just about Action Coach Heartland, which is the team. I'm part of a team in Nebraska and Iowa. Our head coach is David Drulo. He's out of Cedar Rapids. And another reasons why I chose to go with Action Coach is because they do a lot of training. We have weekly trainings, we have quarterly trainings, and then we have a couple of trainings in normal times that are conferences that we go to. We obviously haven't had a conference in over a year, but they're talking about bringing those back this year in a safe and responsible manner. So I'm really looking forward to those resuming because they're great to connect with other coaches and just help me as a coach become stronger to be able to better serve my clients. So I'm always working on myself as a coach, which is again probably the reason why I went with the team. So we've got, this hasn't been updated in a little while, but we've got about, I think we're up to it says 10 coaches. I think we're a little bit closer to 15 coaches now. And then just a little bit about myself. So I coach with Accelerate Action Coach, which is out of Urbandale. And I work with the firm owner, Greg Thompson. But how did I get to be where I am, right? How did I get to be here, to be a coach, to be with you guys? I first and foremost was a business owner, and I first and foremost was a client. So I have a very unique perspective that I think only 1 or 2 other coaches on our entire team have, in the sense that I've not only been on the coach's side of things, but I've also been on the client side of things. So that's one thing that really is part of my story. When I have business owners that are sitting with tears of frustration, tears of anger, the emotion, the struggle, last year with all the COVID stuff that happened, I've understood and I've been there. I get and I can empathize it with that. And I also understand the focus of needing to have results, right? We need to, if you're going to work with a coach, I'm going to be one helping you not only move your bottom line, but also help you to find more time to build the business that you want to have. Not just a business that you are settling with because you believe that it should be go, 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 run around like a chicken with your head cut off, which I know is a little indelicate, but you know what I mean when I say that, right? Like we just find ourselves coming and going, right? So how do we get to our businesses from chaos to be able to place of control? And really at the end of the day, friends on Zoom and here in person, I love people and I love business. I believe very strongly that we are all gifted in very unique ways, and business is something that I'm just incredibly passionate about, and serving people and serving business owners and then their clients and their team members through my work as a coach it really just brings me great joy. So I can just not say thank you enough, both for Kristen and Scott and for everybody here this morning that hosted, and for this opportunity, but just I hope today is a really good return on the investment of your time. So, okay, so to open up into our 6 steps, I want to just kind of take a second here to set the ground rules. And I teach that the only failure when you attend these educational workshops and seminars is a failure to participate. So please, please, please be engaged, be attentive, and also just ask questions. Ask any question that's asked is a good question. So ask good questions. Don't be afraid to ask anything, because the only not good question is the one that isn't asked, okay? So make sure that you're participating this morning. Give 100% and you'll get 100% out of today's teachings. I also want to set the ground rule with, remember that you cannot learn this morning if you go into the attitude of I know. So I really want you to set your attitude and your mindset. Get rid of saying I know, I know, I know, and instead come to this place this morning with the desire to learn and to grow, which I think Kat said she was excited to learn this morning. I appreciate that. But just go into everything that you're learning today with the perspective of, isn't that really interesting? So be really open to learning, keep your mindset in that space, and get rid of the I know mentality. Okay, so to open up this morning, I want to talk about, this is probably the single most powerful slide in the entire slide deck. And everything that we're going to teach beyond this really can come back to this point of power. So as a business coach working with business owners, I remind them the truth that every single person has a point of power, and that can be represented by this blue dot. If a business owner or a team member or a client or an individual is below the point of power, this is where they are filled with blame, they're filled with excuses, they're filled with denial. So this could look like a business owner blaming their team for why something didn't get done. This can be coming up with an excuse that a deadline was met way too soon and we just couldn't meet it. Or this could be the place of denial that, COVID did change your business, denial that, your business is not in a place where it should be, denial that you can change things, right? This is being below the point of power. So if somebody is below the point of power, this is also where we teach that they are powerless or they come from a place of great scarcity. So if this is being below the point of power, what does being above the point of power look like? Being above the point of power comes from a place, every individual comes with above the point of power when they're filled with ownership for their actions, ownership for the people that they surround themselves with. Accountability that for the results that they will or will not get out of their business. And then responsibility. So everything above the point of power is basically 100% responsibility and 0 excuses. Remember too that reasons and excuses are only different by their spelling. So if you're giving a reason for why something the way it is, you're basically excusing it. Versus saying, I'm going to take action for this, I'm going to take accountability for this, and we're going to change this the way it is, rather than saying that is the way it is because X, Y, or Z. So everything in business and team and business operations comes down to this point of power. If we're, again, below that point of power, we're powerless, and so think of it like a battery that needs to be charged up. If we come from a place above the point of power, we're now in a place of being powerful. Being empowered, and we are like a battery all charged up, good and ready to go. Now, another thing that I like to illustrate when I teach the point of power is you can see below the line is blame, excuses, and denial spelled bed. So think of somebody that is not choosing to get out of bed, that is not choosing to empower themselves, and that is not choosing to move forward. They're not going to make progress. Versus if we come from being above that point of power, now we have a place, you can see the ownership, accountability, and responsibility spelled or. So think of this now like you're in a boat, and being above the point of power now is your oar moving you forward. Okay. The other thing is that learning improves when we're having fun. So I really try to make this engaging. I love the fact that we're able to do both virtual and in person, so we can have people posting on chat, and then I can ask questions of the group here. And when I ask a question to the group, for those of you on chat, please, please, please just answer it in the chat on the Zoom. We really want you to be engaged and really want you to learn and have fun this morning. Okay. In order to teach the 6 steps to a better business, we need to first start with defining what a business actually is. So let's give the definition and then we'll break it down. All the business owners I work with, I teach them that a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you as the business owner. So this puts you as the owner in the position that you should be working on your business and not just in the business. So we have a couple of massage therapists here. Just as an example, what this would look like is if you're working in your business, that could be providing care to your therapist or providing care to your treatments. If you are a photographer, we have a photographer here this morning, that would be like looking like providing photography sessions to your clients. That's going to be the direct income production. That's going to be working in your business. Working on your business are all of those things that are critical to allowing you to work in the business. So this working on the business looks like financial management. Working on the business looks like goal setting and projections. Working on the business looks like sales and marketing. That's a big one, right? Working on the business are all those things that focus on the business to make it a commercial, profitable enterprise, but you're not necessarily in it doing the work to produce the income. Does this make sense? Okay. Now, the other thing I want to lightheartedly ask, but truthfully, don't overthink it. When we look at the definition of a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you, there's one word that sticks out in there. What is the purpose of a business? At the end of the day, what do you go into business to do? Don't overthink it.
Profit.
Profit, to make money, right? So we need to have a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. I have come to some clients have come to me, or I've become their coach, and they're not making money. So the very, 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 very first thing that we do is get that ship turned around. And one thing I've noticed in my years as a coach, friends, is it's okay to make money, and it's okay to make a lot of money. Remember that money is just a tool. Money itself is not a good or a bad thing. It's an inanimate object that's just a tool. How we use and respond to that can be what's good or what's bad, okay? And that's a very powerful statement, but it's very hard for a lot of people to embrace that truth. Do we have any comments or anything, Chris, in the chat? Cool. Okay, so here's the meat and potatoes of this morning. So I used to do Toastmasters, and then tragically when COVID happened, we had to suspend our group. And so I haven't done it for the last, 18 months or so, 15, 18 months. But in Toastmasters, we always teach, tell them what you're going to say, then say it, then tell them what you just said, okay? So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say, and then we're going to dive into it. Today, we're going to go over, and I want to teach you 6 steps to growing your business. 6 steps to get your business to a better place than where it is right now. These 6 steps start with mastery, and we're going to break all these down. Then we have to have mastery before we can get to the niche step. Then step number 3, before we can get to leverage, we have to have niche, so they all build on each other. You notice it's like a pyramid. So before we can get to leverage, we have to have niche. Then once we've established niche, we move on to leverage. Then the 4th step is building team. The 5th step is having synergy. And the 6th step is results. So you can see once we get to the top of this, we will have massive results. But until we get there, we have to go through what I like to say is from chaos to control. So in mastery, and we're going to break these down just as a summary here to introduce it, we eliminate chaos of the business. Once we eliminate chaos, now we move into predictable cash flow in the niche step. Then, once we get out of niche and we have predictable cash flow, now we're moving to efficiency. How do we leverage the business so that it's becoming more efficient and effective? Then once we have that, how do we structure it for growth? How do we grow our team? Then from there, how do we begin to get a well-oiled machine? And then from there, what is the owner's personal growth and or new businesses? Forgive me, my nose is running, I'm healthy. I think it's just the change we've had between the hot and the cold here this morning, Kristen. But I got better quickly next year. Oh, it's all good. I just, you know how you go from hot to cold, and that makes your spike nose run a little bit, so. But in the times in which we are friends, you feel like even when you sneeze, you're like, I'm not sick, I promise, and I'm not. Right. Okay, thank you so much for giving me a little grace on that. Okay, so you can see over here then on the left side that once we get from stability to niche, or mastery to niche, we're moving into a more stable, right? Mastery, we're gonna break this down here in just a sec, but mastery think of as like a startup, okay? So Tabitha, as you go in market private practice, you have to start here. You cannot get up here until you start down here. So we're gonna build, right? So we have to go through to stability, then we have cash flow. Then once we get up here, now we're working on getting more time because we have enough income producing from the business. So now we need to get more time production. Then once we grow our team to synergy, this is where we put in a general manager. This is where we put in maybe a second owner. This is maybe where we outsource a lot more things that we were doing on our own to get us more time. And then that sixth step is where we now have passive income or we sell the business. So I like to say, this is in normal times, drinking pina coladas on a beach somewhere in a nice tropical place, right? So this is when we get to that results point. And if some of you might be thinking in your mind, that's all, that's great, and that's grand, but I don't know if that's for me. What I want you to do is to focus your mindset to know that this can be you. Now, whether or not you choose it to be you, that's on you. But I will tell you, one of the clients of our firm had been a client for a long time. They just sold their business, and they're not even 50 yet, and they sold it for a lot of money. They took it from here to here. Part of my story, I've taken a business from here to here, which is probably now I'm a full-time coach. And we started it here in 2014, and we just sold it in March. And so 7 years. I'm competitive. It would have been 6 or less, but COVID messed things up. So yes, I went below the point of power and I gave an excuse. It took 7 years, but it should have taken less. Okay, so those are our 6 steps, okay? So this builds us that commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. The important thing here too, friends, is to understand, again, if you want to be in your business after you got to the stage, that's okay. That's awesome. But the point is we want you to get to the point where you can have independence to do it only if you want to do it. Does this make sense? Okay. Mastery. Step 1. Mastery is where we take the business from chaos to control. This is the very first step in the business owner running the business to not allowing the business to run them. There are 4 main steps to mastery. There are 4 main places that the business has to master before they can ever move on to niche. They are destination mastery, money mastery, time mastery, sales and delivery mastery. Destination mastery. When you start a business, you need to realize what is the end goal in mind. What is your exit strategy? When is it that you will be finished with it? What are your long-term goals? What is your vision and what is your mission for the business? So this is thinking long-term on destination mastery. Long-term can be 1 year out, it can be 5 years out, it can be 10 years out, it can be however long you want to think, but a great way that I talk to my clients or when I'm discussing working with a business, if they come to me and we're talking about whether it's going to be a good fit for them and for I, I always ask them either, why did you start this business? What do you want to get out of it? Or like, where do you want to be when you're 5-10 years out from here? If they haven't thought about that, that's one thing that I make them go back and do. Like, you really need to ask yourself, what is your why? The why is very, very powerful. I'm a triathlete. I love racing, and it's a competitive outlet for me on the hobby side of my things. But when you're a triathlete, one of the most successful things that coaches ask their athletes when they are working with triathletes is, what is your why? Triathlon takes a lot of time to train for, it takes a lot of discipline. So why are you doing it? It's the same with a business. A business takes a lot of your time and your energy and your emotion when you're a business owner, right? I mean, that's a fair statement. Yes. And you have to ask yourself, what is the why? What is the destination? What is the reason for doing this? Okay? Money, so that's the first part of mastery. The second step of mastery is money mastery. You have to control your resources by budgeting and reporting. When I work with all of my clients, we use what we call KPIs, or key performance indicators, to help with budgeting and reporting. That's with our coaching relationship. Outside of that, I make sure that all of my clients, I keep them accountable so that they have a good CPA that's also doing their monthly financials for them. So we need to know where our business is going, what it's being spent on, and whether we're getting a return on that. So is it worth the investment that we're making into it? We have to know where the dollars are going, because we need a profitable enterprise. Okay, time mastery. Okay, this, I love this. Think of this as concentric circles, because that's what it is, okay? So time mastery goes into basically 4 different circles and 4 different spheres, okay? We call them delusion, distraction, demand, and then the target, where it is that you want it to be. So your distraction are things that are not urgent and not important. So you as a business owner need to make sure that your time is on the target, right? So let's talk about what happens when it's not on the target. The first place where it happens is we get distracted. We fill our time with things that are not urgent and they're not important, okay? So can somebody give me an example of what a distraction would be in business ownership? And don't overthink it. In today's day and age, there's going to be that's like glaringly obvious. Social media. Bingo! Kirsten nailed it. Social media. I confess, like, I'll be on my phone, like, scrolling, and then, like, 20 minutes have gone by, and I'll be like, dang it, like, what did I just do with that time? It wasn't urgent, it wasn't important, and it certainly wasn't productive. If anything, it put me below the point of power, because I'm like, I shouldn't be doing that, and you can toils with your emotions, right? So on time mastery, you have to make sure that you are recognizing that your time's in the important place, spending time in the important places. So then we have delusions, okay? These are things that we think are important, but really, really aren't, okay? So these would be things like, a good example is going to get groceries. Sure, they're important, but you can pay somebody else to do that. Does that make sense? So these are things that we think we have to do, but we really don't, okay? Demands, these are things that are urgent and important, okay? So if you are, Scott, if I'm going to use your example, a demand of your time would be making sure that your building is moving forward. Would you agree with that statement? It's important and it's urgent, because if you have an opening day, or if you have a date you need to get a tenant in, you got to make sure that your build out is on time, right? So this is a good demand of your time. So think of demands as, I like to say, whatever makes the cash register ring. Okay, that's where the demand of your time is going to be. But as a business owner, we want to make sure that we're mastering and get to that target zone. So these are things that are important to us, but not urgent. Okay? This is the zone where we're going. What I would like to use as an example of this is spending, for me as a business owner, spending time with my 86-year-old grandma. It's important to me, but it's not urgent, but it's where I want to be spending my time. Does that have anything to do with my business? No, but have I worked to get my business to a place where I can step away and go do that when I want to, as I want to? Absolutely. I have clients that are moms, okay? What goes into this middle of this is spending time with my young children. I have others that are athletes. I want more time to train. I want more time to be spending on my hobbies. So think about where is it you want your time to be going, okay? So that's time mastery. The third is sales and delivery mastery. This is asking, do you have enough sales people in your team? Do you have the proper marketing support on your team? Can you deliver when promised or even before? And do you have alternate plans in place? Do you have a backup? So you have to deliver with consistency in your sales and delivery. We have a lot of massage therapists in the room, so think about that. Am I delivering when I promised? Am I starting all my treatments on time? Am I ending them all on time? That would be a really good example of delivering with consistency, okay? Okay, so that is mastery, right? So we're getting rid of all the chaos and control. Once we have established the step of mastery, then we can move on to niche. Niche is critical because this is where we create that predictable cash flow within a business. How do we create our niche? The number one way is to develop and establish a unique selling proposition, or a USP. If you do not know what your USP is, I would definitely advise you working on creating that, or having somebody help you create it if you're not confident doing it on your own. But what is a USP? What is a unique selling proposition? What do you guys think?
Well, so like let's take the Prairie Wellness Center here. So one unique selling point or proposition here would be the communal space or the shared space.
Absolutely.
It's something that it's an opportunity, and it's an opportunity for revenue to bring things in.
Yep. Scott hit the nail on the head using the Prairie State Wellness Center as an example. The unique selling proposition is what sets them apart from any other competition. What sets your business apart from your competition? What sets your business apart, Tabitha, from your competition? Cheryl and Kat on the call, what sets your business apart from your competition, right? What makes you unique? Why should people come to you? For example, when we started our business back in 2014, my USP was an experienced athlete working with experienced athletes. So that identified who was my client and identified who I was. And they identified why you should come to me versus coming to other people. So that's just an example, okay? But if you start looking at the USPs of like Fortune 500 companies, this is one thing that they all have nailed down. They understand this really well. But then also creating a guarantee. So if niche is your USP and your selling proposition, you also have to have a guarantee, right? You also have to have a promise to your clients or your business owners. So let's talk about the USP for just a quick sec. I love this because it's just funny. So Mom's Diner, she's gonna have a USP that she has really wholesome food, but Grandma's Diner is gonna have the USP of free candy, free toys, and no spinach. There's another funny one here. Okay, so let's talk about guarantee. Dumpster Dude's guarantee. Satisfaction guaranteed, or double your trash bag, right? What is the promise, right? What is the promise that you're gonna make to your client? There's a really famous guarantee. I'll give you a hint. Think Bezos. What's the guarantee that they have? Amazon Prime. And 2-day. Okay, that's a guarantee, right? So think about things what is it that you're promising that you're gonna do, and how that can attract business customers and clients to you. Now, on niche, remember that marketing should always be an investment and never an expense. If you're using marketing as an expense, your mindset on your marketing is completely wrong. But how do we know what our investment is doing for us unless we track it, right? We have to test and we have to measure all of what our marketing dollars are being spent on when we go out and market our USP, when we go out and market our guarantee, right? To get us to this niche step. So this is one thing that all of my clients that we hit again and again and again and again, they'll say, should I do this or should I do this for my marketing dollars? And I'm very famous for saying, I don't know, what have you tried before? And if the answer is, well, neither, then I say, well, let's divide and we're gonna track both and test both. You know, the business owner of action coach, Brad Sugars, he speaks quite regularly, he's still very active in the company. And he'll even tell a story, he's a serial entrepreneur, the guy's got like 6 or 7 companies. Even he'll say, even as experienced as he is as an entrepreneur, he still tests and measures. He still will go out and try a marketing investment, track it, test and measure it, and then see what his ROI is before he knows where to move forward. Okay, now as a coach, I will also kind of give this little asterisk, but there definitely are sometimes when it's highly logical to go certain directions with your marketing and not other directions. I was just in a meeting yesterday with a client. We were talking about marketing. For their business, it would not really make sense to do, say, TV advertising or radio advertising, right? So we're focusing more on referral and word of mouth, which is a perfectly great investment of marketing time and dollars. So, bingo, it's great guerrilla marketing. Yes. Which is a whole nother presentation I could write about. But okay, quickly, because this is a whole nother presentation in and of itself, but I do want to talk about it because it's how we do get out of the niche step to move on to leveraging our business, okay? The 5 proven ways to increase your bottom line on your profits of your business, and this is also how we always track marketing, is we track the number of leads that we're getting out of that marketing technique, we track the conversion rate. So what this tells us is of those leads, conversion means how many of them actually spent money in our business. Does that make sense? So if I went to a conference and I got 50 names that dropped their information at my expo booth, but I was only able to sell my product to 5 of them, okay, my conversion rate is 5 out of 50 or 10%, okay? So we multiply those things to get our number of the customers that we're gonna come in our door. But then we can further track how many number of transactions did they spend with us? They come in and spend once. Maybe if I'm a house builder, that would be a typical transaction number. Versus if I'm a physician, your number of transactions is going to be a lot higher. Because every time you see them as a patient, that would count as your number of transactions. Then what is your average dollar sale for each of those transactions? If you multiply that, that's by your revenue. Then you multiply that by your profit margin. So how much am I making on every single sale? And that's where we get the amount of profits. Now, as a coach, and as we work on this, oh, hang on here. Whoops. My computer's a little slow. Okay, so putting in some numbers. So if we have 4,000 leads converted to 25%, we have 1,000 customers times 2 transactions, an average dollar sale of $100. That's going to get us our revenue of $200,000. If we have a 25% profit margin, then that equates to $50,000. Why is this important? This is super important because if we grow these by 10%, I'm going to show you the magic of the numbers here. And why I like to use 10% is because when was the last time that somebody got excited about 10%? Seriously. Like, were you ever excited? You're like, you get a 10% discount. And you're like, that's awesome. Is that going to rush you out of your house to go, like, on Black Friday, do they give like 10% discounts? You know what I'm saying? 10% is completely achievable and doable. So if we put all of these up by 10%, you can see the numbers. So 44,000 goes up to 4,400, 25 is 27.5. That gives us to 1,210. Then the transactions and average dollar sales go up. So our revenue, look at that, it's at $92,000. And then our profit margin is up, and now we've gone from 50,000 to 80,000, over 80,000. If you round up, it'd be $81,000, but 80,500 some change. So the revenue is up by 46%, and your profits are up by a whopping 63%. That is when we have, in the niche level business, this is where we see this magic happen. This is where we really start to see the revenue go up and the profits go up. We have predictable cash flow, and the business is stabilized and growing and is maximizing its profits. So that will then allow us to go then to the next step of leveraging. So leverage is now where we have efficiency in the business. And there are, just like there are 4 main areas of mastery, there are 4 main levels of leverage. We have systems, we have technology, we have people, and we have marketing. What does this mean? Let's break this down. To systematize the business, we systematize what is our vision statement, what is our mission statement, what is our culture statement, what is the culture of our business, what are our SMART goals. When we say SMART, does anybody know what that means, what SMART stands for?
Specific and measurable, like
Yeah.
that one?
Yes, yep, go for it.
I don't know that I know all the others.
Yeah, no,
Attainable.
yes.
Realistic.
And timely.
Yep.
Yep. We got it. I love it, you guys. We got it as a team here. So specific, our goal is specific. Measurable, our goal has a measure. Attainable or achievable, right? We're not saying we're going to go to the moon tomorrow, right? Now we can say we can go to the moon in 10 years, which is a very famous SMART goal that JFK made back in the 60s, and that's a whole nother case study on itself, but it's awesome. Realistic, okay? We know that it can be realized. And then timely or time bound, right? We have a specific time measure on it, okay? So our goals are not just gonna say, I'm gonna grow the business. That is not a SMART goal. A SMART goal would be, I am going to make $10,000 next month and grow my profits by this much, and it's gonna be done by March 31st, 2021. Can you see the difference? We also need to systemize our organization chart. Who in our team does what? Even if you're a company of 1, which we're gonna talk about here in just a second. Positional contracts, do we have contract employees? Do we have contract vendors? Okay, we need to systematize those. KPIs, or our key performance indicators. How do we track the metrics of our business? How often do we track them? What is the system we're tracking? Who are we accountable to track them to? That needs to all be systematized. How-to manuals. I always say on this one, I need to update the manuals to how-to statements or documents, because a how-to, in my private practice, I had how-tos that were paragraphs. We'd have them printed out. Here's how to do this. It doesn't have to be a whole book, okay? Now, sometimes it can be, but it doesn't have to be. But are things spelled out? Is there a good system for how to do that? How to do laundry? How to close up the shop at night? How to open the shop? How to clean the shop, right? These are all things that can be systemized. And then leadership milestones. Do we have a system in place to award or reward our team members that are helping us to create a great and accountable organization? Uh-oh, what just happened? That was weird. Okay, yeah, we're here. Okay, so that is leverage. Team. So just really quickly on leverage. So a statement I want to make about leverage, think of leverage as, we said systems, right? Systematizing. Systems stands for the acronym. Save yourself time, energy, and money. Have you guys heard that before? So every time you have a system in place, you are saving yourself time, energy, and money. So a great way for leverage is, because it's my background, I like to use the example of laundry in a massage therapy clinic. Okay, when I was down here in Mastery and Niche, guess who was doing the laundry? Guess who was taking it home on nights and weekends to get it done? Okay, when I got to leverage, guess what I had? What?
Was it you either put on site or you outsourced it by then?
So both. First, I had it on site, And I did it myself, but at least it was on site, so I wasn't taking it home. But then when I moved to my final clinic location, I had a laundry service. But both of those were creating more efficiency, right? So that is, Scott brings up a valid point when he gives the options. Because with leverage, remember, businesses are constantly changing, right? Businesses are constantly evolving. So leverage is not always the flip of a switch. Leverage is not always walking out one day and saying, I am not doing my laundry at all anymore. Maybe it's, okay, I'm only doing my laundry, but now I'm only doing it at the office. Okay, does that make sense? So with my clients, I teach all the time with leverage, we constantly need to be reviewing the vendors that we're using and the systems that we're using because there are times when they call for change. Another perfect example of this is credit card processing. Okay, and it's interesting, that's kind of a fun one because I have a client right now, their credit card processing system just came out with a new product. So we're trying to decide right now, does it make sense for the business to use that product? Okay, so that's leverage. Okay, so the fourth step is, and these last ones go pretty quickly, so we'll wrap up here, I would say about 10 minutes or so, and then open it up to questions that you guys have, okay? So the fourth step is team, okay? So at team, this is where now we are structuring to grow the business. This is now where we have structure for another provider, for a healthcare provider. This is where we have now room for a sales and marketing team instead of a sales and marketing director. Or maybe now you're hiring for a sales and marketing director. This is now where we are growing our team, whether that be on payroll or contract employees. Now, there are 6 steps to a winning team. And notice I say winning, that means they're accountable, they're responsible, they take ownership, and now we get results for the business. You can have a team, but it might not be a very good team. So how do we create a winning team? The very first thing is it starts from the top down. It has to have strong leadership. Notice I didn't say a good manager. There's a stark difference, and that's another seminar that I teach on. I actually taught it yesterday for the Urbandale Chamber of Commerce. We have to have strong leadership. Then once we have strong leadership, not good manager, once we have strong leadership, now we have a common goal. We cannot have a winning team unless we have a common goal for everybody that's on that team. How do we know what is a common goal for our team members?
That's going back to your systems.
Yes, that's a critical part of it. But it's also getting to know our team.
Creating it together.
Exactly.
Including them in the goals.
Exactly. And exactly, and understanding what their goals are. Because if their goals do not align with your goals, you're never going to have a common goal. Now, goals can change and evolve, but we have to start right off the first bat with having a common goal. Friends, don't overthink this. One of the simplest, most effective common goals in business is making money. The business wants to make money, and the employee wants to make money. Is that a fair statement? So now we have a common goal of profit, revenue, and income production, okay? Now, as the business progresses, you have to break down more specifically what those goals are, but at a very, very high level, for the purposes of the conversation today, we have to think what that common goal is. And we know that by getting to know our employees, okay? Then what are the common goal 2? Here's another example. This can also look like flexibility of scheduling. So if you only need somebody that's here 1 or 2 or 3, 4 days a week, and you're willing to work with them, their common goal is to only have hours and days on these times. Does that make sense? So don't overthink common goal, okay? Number 3 is under 16 to winning team, making sure that the rules of the game are laid out. What are the systems of the business? What are the rules of the business? What's the culture of the business? How do we do things, okay? What are the rules of the game? I learned from experience, guys. The very first employee that I ever hired, I did not lay out the rules of the game. I assumed that when I told them that the clinic opened at 8 o'clock, they knew that they needed to be there ready to work, go for work by 8 o'clock. That was a wrong assumption on my part. Okay, and that might seem like a simplistic example, but those of us in this room that have had employees know that that's a good example. I see a head shaking, okay? I was 24, 25, I was very young and very naive.
So, yeah, you should have said, you need to be here at 8 o'clock. It doesn't make a difference when it opens.
Right.
When you need to be here.
Right, exactly, and you know, again, it's voice of experience speaking, guys, and that's why I tell you, that's what helps make me start coach. I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, but everything I coach my clients on, so much of it comes from my own personal experience. Yeah. We have to have an action plan, right? What is the execution? What are the systems? What's the how-tos? What is it that we're doing, right? We use this to support risk-taking because this helps our team grow and progress, okay? We're not settling for the norm. We're not just staying put in one place, okay? And then we have 100% involvement and inclusion. This is critical because if 5 of your team members are on one and the 6th person is set out for some reason or another, that's not going to create a winning team.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
about the risk-taking one? Like, what specifically do you mean by, like encouraging your employees to think outside the box, startup support risk-taking?
Yes,
Or,
yes. Think of this as we're not settling with the everyday norm. We are constantly pursuing opportunities. We are constantly exploring new ideas. We are open to trying new things. We are not, think of this as being open-minded versus closed-minded. We are not closed-minded to say that's a stupid idea, we're not gonna do it, just because we've never tried it before. Does that make sense? This isn't, let's go take $100,000 off the bottom line and go blow it on top.
Yeah.
That's, do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the 6 T's to a winning team. Now, why is this important? This is important to have a winning team because it is the cycle of the business, okay? And you notice it got added in last. This is the cycle of business. The owner builds a team, the team serves the customers, that creates a business that now the owner is keeping going, right? Does this make sense? It's highly cyclical. You can break this down even more. I can see his face, Les. Something, he spoke at the Urban Chamber of Commerce a couple of years ago on it, but he talks about the traction of a business. This is that traction, okay? He puts it a little bit differently, and obviously he's trademarked his product, but at the end of the day, this is what he talks about, okay? That you have to, in order to have the traction of a business, you have to have an owner that has a good team, that has good customers, that has good business. Now, if anyone in this room is a company of one, meaning they're self-employed, do not discount this slide. Why I say do not discount this slide is because you still have a team, and you still need to have a winning team around you, even if they're not on your payroll. And at a minimum, there are 5 people that you need to have on your team, I advise. You need to have a good CPA, because if you don't have a good CPA, you're going to not have a winning team. You need to have a good small business attorney. You need to have a good financial planner, somebody who's helping you with your retirement, your investments, and the investments of the business. You need to have a good insurance agent, both to cover your personal assets and your business assets, somebody you can call. And you need to have a good business coach. And the coach is critical because it's going to keep you accountable for finding the rest of them. Who is your business attorney? Great, we've got a good one, awesome. Great, you don't have a good one, we need to go and get you one. Who is your CPA? Can you call them? Do you have a good relationship with them? Can you see how these people are going to be critical to your team? Another one that you could add on there, and I sometimes do, is a banker, a good banker. I have a good banker that I can call, okay? All of these 5, and the banker if you count 6, I have their numbers is saved in my cell phone. I have their direct lines. That is the type of relationship that I personally have with them. Do you think that was critical when I was trying to grow my team within my business? Absolutely. Okay. Okay, so that is team. So at that team, now we get structured for growth. The 5th step is synergy. Once we get from team to synergy, now we have a well-oiled machine, okay? This is now the traction of the business. And then results, now you have an owner's personal growth and or new business. At synergy and results, this is where you can install a general manager and you can step away. This is where you can replicate and sell. This is typically at the point when businesses go from, like if they're going to franchise, this is where they start going to the franchise model. But you cannot get to that point until you have all these others. This is where you open a second location. This is where you expand into a new city or a new state, a new territory, okay? This is what happens at synergy and results. And then at results is when you've either sold it or gone on to something new. So again, our 6 steps: mastery, niche, leverage, team, synergy, and results. We have now worked to create a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. Okay, for the sake of time, the rest of this would be if I were doing like a lunch and learn, just to help them understand a little bit more about coaching. So I think for the rest of the time today, use a quarter till and you really, really want to open up. So I'm just going to leave the rest of the stuff and not worry about it because it's not really relevant to 6 steps. But if you do have questions about working with a coach, you can ask me now or I can stick around at the end. I do have a little bit of information in the corner of the room, so please grab my business card. Please leave me your business card. I absolutely, absolutely love connecting with other business owners and hearing your stories. If you are on the Zoom call, please do connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn, and I would just love, love, love to connect with you. And yes, Amanda Lundstedt on both of those. So, and I do have a Facebook page. Again, just because I try to leverage my time, I'm not on it very actively, and that's intentional. So, okay, so with that, let's open it up for questions. I'll take this back. Oops. And just a reminder, if you're on Zoom, you can put your questions in the chat, and then, or you can just speak up since we have a speaker. I kind of forget about that. Because we're not on a webinar. Yesterday I was on a webinar, and so everybody had to like type in their questions, which was fine to the host, and she had to read them, but that kind of threw me for a loop. So I guess I'm still in yesterday's mindset. So, okay, so what questions do you guys have? Questions to me, questions about business, questions about anything, really. It's an open forum here.
I do have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Tabitha?
How do you keep social media as like a tool instead of a distraction?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So Tabitha asked, how is it that you keep social media as a tool and not as a distraction? There's several ways to do that. Number one, I advise scheduling your time for social media. So unless you're gonna have somebody else manage it for you, assuming you're the one managing it, make sure you're scheduling your time. So like one thing that I do is I actually have set that my settings on my phone, because that's typically where I get caught with it, will turn, like they'll darken, so I can't access like apps after a certain amount of time. Does that make sense? So that is intentionally done. So focus your time, and then set your parameters and your boundaries and say, okay, for my work day, now after, if you want to say after 5 o'clock, it's all free game, that's fine. But during my work day, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm only going to be on social media from 9 to 9:15. Or, you know, you carve out time and it's intentional. So you set your boundary, you're intentional with it, but then the other thing is making sure you understand what is your end game. So when I'm in coaching sessions, I have clients who are like, I want to boost my social media presence, or I need to get my social media up. I always ask, that's fine, and I understand that, but what is it that your end game is? What is it that you are trying to do? And I'll get things like, well, I want to get more likes. Okay, that's fine, but why do you want to get more likes? Like, I just keep probing, asking why. So that's something that you just have to ask yourself and make sure that you understand, or if somebody keeping you accountable. If you are spending time on social media, what is the purpose of your time on there? Does that make sense? So setting your boundaries, staying accountable to those boundaries, and then making sure you understand your why. And that is because it can just be a huge, huge time suck. The other thing too, and it kind of goes back to one of the things we said today, definitely it can be a marketing investment, but the other thing too is you can always outsource your social media as well. Have somebody else do it. That would be like Miranda, see, that's what she does for a lot of businesses. And for a little while I had that. I had 2 different people over the years do that for me. my business evolved and changed, so it just got to a point where the investment wasn't there anymore. It was for a while, but businesses change. But know that certainly is an option too. So, does that help answer your question, Tabitha? Cool. What other questions?
Is that what a virtual assistant is?
It can be.
Or is that virtual assistant includes emails, phone, all that
It
stuff?
depends.
Okay.
A virtual assistant is a very, very versatile, all-encompassing title. So it depends.
Depending on your needs.
Exactly.
Okay.
There are a lot of virtual assistants out there. Think of it kind of like grocery stores. The grocery store is like Fairway's different from ID, they're different from Aldi, it's different from Walmart, it's different from Amazon. So you'll have a virtual assistant, but you'll have virtual assistants that can specialize this, specialize in that, specialize in that. So it can be, but not necessarily. Other questions?
Cheryl, do you have any questions today?
Should we pop off?
She lost her video.
Oh,
She started listening.
Sure. The other thing, while you guys are thinking or wondering if you have any other thoughts, we're doing this now once a month.
No question, she said.
Okay. And so, I would just know that I would love to see you again. We are going to be, this was obviously our opening one, and I like to open on this one when I do these seminars, because it's a very good, like, ground-based, okay? But our monthly seminars down here will be, basically, I want to hear from you guys. I need to hear what is it you guys want to hear about. So if we need to talk about social media and how that works within a business, let me know, and we'll talk about social media. If we need to talk about KPIs, if we need to talk about sales and marketing, I mean, we can break down so many of these things. So I really, truly need to hear from you guys. What do you want to hear about in these seminars? And then that's kind of the fun thing about getting to these groups that I do a lot of, for like Urbandale. Like Urbandale's yesterday, I spoke on how to produce accountability within your organization, and how do you get a team and an organization that produces accountability and results, right? And so that was yesterday's webinar. So I love, as I started out today, I love business, I love teaching, I love helping. So whatever you guys want to learn about, email me, you can talk to Kristen. I think, Scott, they can talk to you, and we can keep this conversation going for what we want next month and the month after that to look like.
I'll send out an email to our members and just see if there's any requests or needs or, just find out what.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Yeah, because I had made a note here that I think, I know we had with Miranda C, we sort of went through the social media and so forth and digital marketing. To me, I guess I feel that maybe much like Tabitha's question today, the why of social media and so forth, that's where maybe it's that marketing ROI or that marketing, how do you test and measure your time on Facebook and how that leads to leads and conversions and so forth.
And that would be
like to me, I think that's the piece that most small businesses miss is, I have to be on social media and I have to be on social media. Well, why do you have to be there? And is it getting you anything? And can you determine if it got you anything?
Right. How do you track and measure, right? How do you measure, is it becoming an investment, or how do we measure an investment, or is it truly becoming an expense because it's sucking our time, right? Yeah, I definitely, yes, that is something that we can do. And what we'll do, I'm not sure what month we'll put that in on, but that's something we can do pretty quick,
Yeah, because I know, like, I'm with Tabitha as I look at starting to open stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you have to be on social media. But then I find myself like, why? Why do I, like, really, what is it gonna get me other than likes or followers?
Right, exactly.
I mean, if those followers don't walk through my door, I really don't care that I have followers.
Right. So Yeah, definitely, Scott. So stay tuned. That will be a really, really fun one. And yes, we can do that. So, yep, perfect. I love it.
I just messaged Cheryl, see if she
Cool.
wanted me to, so.
Cool. Thank you so much. Well, I thank you all on Zoom and here in person for your time. I do value that you gave your time to me this morning, and I really, really hope that I returned good value to that. I hope that this was informative and educational. I know for some it can be a little bit like drinking from a fire hose. That's never my intention. But again, thinking of the big picture, I want you guys to really start thinking about really what is it that I want out of my business, and I want you to start thinking that the sky is the limit if you're not there, if you're not already thinking that. And that you can take control of your business. You can have a business that you run instead of that runs you.
And I can say from experience, it's a great feeling.
When you have more time,
Yeah.
or when
Yeah.
you're out of your
Right.
treatment room, your wellness
Right.
center, and it's producing income for you.
Yes.
It's a great.
I'm not at the top. We're working our way there.
Bingo, exactly. Let's just say, but remember,
Yeah.
you're not down here either.
Right,
We're
right,
moving
yeah.
up.
It's a process, it definitely is.
So, thank you guys. I
Cool.
kind of dork out just because I'm like, I love this stuff, so I just, I thank you for your time this morning, so.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming out and for working with us, and
And thanks
we are
for,
small but mighty, but
I love
we're
it.
seeing growth.
yeah, I love it. Well, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of that. So yeah, I'll let you do your technology stuff there and I'll